Every time it rains, and he's from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains, and he's from heaven. You'll find your fortune.
Sunday 29th already of September. On the spot with, of course, Empress, myself, Faith, and our new friend, first visit, Christopher, Mr. O'Neill. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. I feel like doing customer care right now. I'm doing fine. How can I help you, sir? I don't speak English that much if it's not at work. My work English is very efficient compared to my street English. I can't ask direction normally, but if I'm at work, I'll tell you your bill is past due and you can't get services. No. We're gonna talk about music today, about the industry a little bit, about the prospect of a musician in Montreal. How you feel being a musician in Montreal?
That's very easy. I love being a musician.
You love it? Well, I hope you're gonna answer that.
But first, I actually just met Christopher O'Neill Thomas.
Yes, that's
right?
it.
So
That's it.
I just want to know more about you. Like, who are you? How old are you? I didn't ask you that.
Oh,
My real age or my stage age?
your stage age.
I want
do?
both.
Yeah, your stage age.
Well, my stage age is 30,
Okay.
and my real age is 30.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
He's like, oh, you were doing music for how long?
I've been doing music seriously since the age of 18.
18? Oh, so I could have started back then.
Of course, you can start now.
Well,
Well, my family, I come from a family of artists. Right? So my uncle's an actor, my aunt's a model, my mom's a writer, and my dad's also a bass player, a reggae bass player.
bruh.
And then, so I grew up with a lot of sounds, a lot of records. But it wasn't until I was in high school, like late high school, that I heard Frank Sinatra sing, and I said, "That's what I want to do."
The white man, what does it sound like? Unforgettable.
I think he could tell us better.
That's not him.
That's Nat King Cole.
But what about Frank Sinatra?
He said,
Actually,
"Fly me to the moon."
okay, Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know Fly Me. Would you be able to sing?
You want me to sing?
He's like, do you want me to do
I'm
it?
kind of curious too, I must say.
Fly me to the moon.
Okay, you actually sing.
Let me play among the stars. That's a clip.
Cut his mic. Wow, do you sing as well? Okay, were you
I don't
always
really
a
sing.
singer, or was it always a singer?
Always,
Did you really start singing? Or...
well, I always sang in my shower as a kid.
Well,
Yeah.
like
You know what I
everybody,
mean?
we're
Yeah,
all
definitely.
singers.
Really, like growing up, like I was a big Jackson 5 fan. So
Mm.
I always used to sing those kind of songs around the house and whatnot. But I was always pretty shy. I'm still pretty shy.
I'm almost not believing that with that show off. You show one of my favorite, and you give me a Michael Jackson vibe as well. Well, something I don't know. I feel you would be the kind of guy that would
Yeah, like
bump some Michael Jackson.
How does the polemic around Michael Jackson right now does like affect not necessarily your music, but your views and how you feel about that music that you love so much?
Well, here's the thing.
I wasn't expecting that.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to get that?
Well, I
You
guess
want
we
get
have
that?
to.
It's the
You're already
spot.
on the spot.
All right. Okay. So, as a Christian man,
Yep.
I believe that the world is.
Spotted.
It's
Go
coming
ahead,
out, it's
go
coming
ahead.
out. As a Christian man, I believe that the world is fallen. Right? I believe that we're all sinners. And the reality of that is that people do bad things. Right? And we're just going to continue to do bad things. I do bad things. You do bad things. He does bad
So
things.
you
Even
say-
though he doesn't think he does bad things, he does bad things too. Right?
Okay.
So- But when it comes to someone's art and whatnot, I believe that we can separate the art from the person a lot of the times. Not all the time, but a lot of the times.
I like what you're saying.
So I don't necessarily, like, for example, I might go and I might need someone to fix my toilet. I don't have to like him as a person in terms. I don't have to agree with everything he agrees with, right? But if he does a good job, he does a good job.
I see.
You're on the spot, so I'm sorry
No, go
to
ahead.
even go there. But if you ever get famous, do you think there's anything about your past that they could use against you?
I think people can use anything against anybody.
Right.
In all honesty.
Right, but the type of situation where you don't want to be successful because of that.
I like that question actually. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Just to tell you a little bit of my story. So I went to Concordia, right? Studied music in Concordia. My whole life was just about music. That's the only thing I saw. That's the only thing I felt. For me, it was just music.
My.
And a lot of people might say, okay, well, that's cool, you know, because music is great, right? It's healing, it's soulful and whatnot.
Right.
But when I found Christ, everything changed, right? I started to love something more than that, something more than music, right? So my whole point is that when you idolize something so much that it keeps you in bondage and fear, then you always feel like you have to protect something. You always feel like you can lose something. Right now in my life, I don't feel like I can lose anything that's really that precious to me, because the most precious thing to me and the most precious person to me is Jesus Christ. So my whole life is dependent on him, who I can't lose. And I can't lose him because he will never let go of me, right? Whereas when my whole life was in music, you can always lose some aspect of music. You can lose your credibility, you can lose your contracts. So you're always basically on the defense, right? And when you're always on the defense, you can't really move forward.
Ooh, there's a lot there that we have to dissect. Are you sure that you place religion above your music?
I place Jesus above my music.
You place Jesus above you
Because the only reason why I have the ability to do what I do
is because of him.
That's it. So everything is borrowed. So for me, everything is in the rightful place. Music is a beautiful thing. We all know that. We all enjoy it, right?
As a person,
Right.
do you feel like you can lose the artist that you are?
Oh yeah, well definitely. You can definitely lose your artistry. And a lot of people actually lose their artistry trying to chase fame as well, right? So when you, because now we have this culture, it's like the hustle culture, right? You go on Instagram and it's all there. It's like, oh, I'm working so hard. You know,
Right.
So now,
Grinding.
that's it. It's all about the grind. So I find sometimes with artists, a lot of times the artists, they're more about the grind than they are about the art. And it's like, okay, well, why are you making music to grind? Or are you making music because you have something beautiful to share, something worthwhile to share, right? So you look at, you guys like hip hop, right?
I'm not gonna answer, but like, keep going.
Okay, well, you got
assume.
Okay, well, you take a guy like Kendrick Lamar.
Okay,
right?
I do enjoy some Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, well, his internet presence is kind of minimal.
His internet presence is minimal. What would be the reason for that? Do you think it's a choice?
It's definitely a choice.
And what would be that?
Well, because he actually spoke about it before too. So it's this idea that for him it's just about creating, constantly moving, right? So he's not always constantly advertising himself. It's not about himself. It's just really about the contents, about the work, right? So he's not just pushing out a bunch of stuff, pushing out images. He creates a body of work. It might even take him a few years to do it, but then he does it and boom, it's a smash.
Yeah. Other than Jesus, what's more important than music in your life?
I would actually say the most important thing outside of music would be my family.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Your family,
My family.
your music-loving family, right? You decided to study music.
Right.
Going into that, what were you expecting to become? Like, I always wanted to do music,
Yeah.
but what am I gonna become?
Right.
Playing in the subway? Like, what's the?
Well, my ambition really was to create concept albums.
Okay, concept albums.
Yeah.
What exactly is that?
So concept albums are thematic albums. Basically, it's an album that tells a story, right? So that was my whole ambition. That was my goal. My goal was to be, like Sinatra and Nat King Cole, those kind of guys.
Is it a Christian story?
Well, Christianity is a part of it.
Is a part of the story.
Yeah. Okay, so like before, when I was in school and whatnot, it was all about just getting better.
Okay.
So I want to be a better singer. You know what I mean? I want to have better ears, stronger ears, so that I can.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's really a thing.
Stronger ears.
Yeah, we have to take ear training classes.
Ear training.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this.
What do you do in ear training?
Oh, it's just a bunch of theory. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. Not even 9 o'clock. 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like the first thing you do. You go into school. You have an ear training class. You practice your intervals.
Okay, so you have to do all of that.
Exactly. And I actually found since I've become a Christian, I feel like there's actually more that I want to say. Right? Because before it was all about getting better.
But now you actually
But
have.
now I have like a story. Now I have like there's things brewing in me, experiences that I went through, and I feel that needs to come out. And is Christianity a part of that? For sure, of course it's part of that.
Kanye said, and if I talk about Jesus, my music won't get played. Ha! Was that? Which one would you choose?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't really like the distinction between Christian music and secular music. For me, there's
Okay.
just music, right?
Oh, okay. So there's no distinction between those.
There is, unfortunately, but I just don't like that distinction.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So for me, all music can glorify God, even if you don't mention God in the music, right? Right. So
Well, you tell me.
it can. And then as for myself, I think the minute, and I know it's gonna sound cliche, but I think the minute that I start saying that the zeros matter is actually when I stop being an artist.
But the zeros do matter, do they?
Not to that extent, though.
Not to that extent. To which extent?
Well, to the extent that, you know, I have to sacrifice what I actually have to say, want to say, so that I can make a couple extra dollars. I don't think so.
It's very honorable, I would say.
It is. It's not easy though. It's a hard road, like you said.
I want to believe you guys are cool and mellow.
I like mellow things.
Yeah, mellow things.
Yeah, I
All
like mellow
right.
things.
So how you feel about soca? Can we be buddies or not? Like, do you jump and wave or? Because me, I'll tell you right now, I could listen to soca all my life.
Oh really?
Yeah. You can put soca right now. I could definitely.
Right.
Is there something similar for you? Some type of music that you could just play all day, all night?
I love a lot of old sounds. Like I don't know if I can say just one. I mean, I love the blues.
Yeah.
I can do the blues too.
The blues.
No, I love the blues, man. The blues is. No, I'm actually not a big soca fan.
And that's okay. How about reggae?
I like reggae.
You like reggae?
You like
Yeah,
reggae?
I like the old school stuff, especially like ska.
Of course you would go there.
Yeah.
How about dancehall now?
No.
Vibes cartel. No
I'm
vibes.
not
You
feeling
don't.
that.
We're just gonna take that minute to underline the fact that you're Jamaican, and why can't you stand it? I don't understand. You're Jamaican. It's your culture. You should support.
Is
and
that
love
really my culture? Though?
Don't you feel that?
I don't feel that's my culture.
Explain that to me because it's Jamaicans doing that. No.
Well, Jamaicans are doing it. Doesn't mean it's the culture.
How dang it! I like that's actually a nice point.
Our friend here is a Jamaican, Bajan
That's it.
person that considers himself as being Canadian.
Sure.
And so, what do you feel is your culture, really?
Well, you named it.
All of the above. All of the above. But like, would you place one in front of the other? Okay. Asian first, Canadian second. Quebecer first, Asian second, Canadian third, North American first, then Canadian.
Which rank?
I never really ranked them before. I'm not gonna give the obvious answer. If I'm gonna be real honest with you, I would say I have to be Canadian first because I was born here in Canada. Right?
Really?
Yeah. If I go to Jamaica, I'm gonna and I start acting like hey, boy,
Like, yo, man.
you're not, like it's not.
It's not gonna sound right.
It's not gonna sound the same, right? So I would have to say, I'm Canadian first, I guess, in that sense, and then but the rest. I think everyone who's born in Canada is the same situation.
With that eyebrow.
Like I told you, as a Christian man, my faith is
It's-
really in Jesus.
it's
And-
above.
And for me, I'm a part of that kingdom first, right? I think I'm not saying that culture isn't important in terms of like where people come from and their background, because the whole reason why we're in the places that we come from
It's because
is
of it.
because of the Lord, right? But ultimately, I don't really think that defines me in that sense. I really think the person and thing that defines me now in my life is Jesus. Once upon a time, I would have given you a different answer. Once upon a time, I would have given you a different
I
answer.
believe you.
Once upon a time, I had my whole, Malcolm X kind of thing going on. And
Can you talk to us about that phase and
That
why you
revolution.
changed?
The Garvey, Marcus Garvey, descendants.
yeah, I mean, young black man in the world,
Looking for yourself.
looking for himself,
Yeah, for
trying
sure.
to understand. You go to school and you see a bunch of people who are not like you in that way, and then you wonder, like, okay, well, where do I fit in, right?
Right.
But you see, I've always been in a funny place because when I was younger, I used to really love rock music, right? So a lot of black folks were like, "What's wrong with you, man?
Oh, that's how you start.
Yeah.
That's a white people thing." And I'd be like, "But what about Jimi Hendrix?" So, and then when I went to school, then the white folks were like, why don't you like hip hop? You're supposed to like hip hop. Right? So I was in a funny place where I actually found that I had trouble on both sides. Right? And then I always used to ask myself, okay, well, why should black people, first of all, only like certain amount of things while white people can like everything else? And I find sometimes black people put themselves in that situation too, because it's all like, well, you can't like this. Well, why can't I like this? Why can't I like that? So that and then white people now we're always like, well, you know, you're supposed to be like this, and if you're not like this, if you're not the way you're supposed to be as a black man, if you're not, you know, walking around with baggy pants, because don't forget this is like, you know, early 2000s.
Yeah, I get
so
that.
if you're not walking with baggy pants, but then you're not that mascot black person that we like. Right, because you're supposed to fit in your lane. You're supposed to stay in your lane, right?
Okay.
And we'll accept you in your lane. We might not like you, but we'll accept you there, right? So obviously, I started to get really angry, right? And got to university, whatnot. Obviously, love jazz music. So a lot of my heroes are black. And I just started to just take in what he was saying, you know. But instead, it actually got me to be really angry and bitter.
You went to church.
Before, no, this is way before I went.
Okay.
Because I didn't want anything to do with Jesus. I actually thought Jesus was the white man's religion.
Oh.
I thought he was.
So you went the whole
circle.
The
whole circle.
Okay.
Got into a little bit of Islam.
Okay.
A little bit. Then
That's procedure, really.
Got into transcendental meditation. All kind of stuff. Yeah. So when I went through that phase, I started to just kind of look at white people as the enemy. Right? Which wasn't healthy because I had a lot of white friends. So, and then I felt like I was a victim, which I wasn't. And that's just the honest truth. I don't have the same experience as a black person that's from the American South. So I'm not saying that these experiences don't exist. I just don't have them. I'm actually quite privileged here, right? Now, so for example, a lot of people they talk about like, you know, racism, systemic racism and whatnot. And I believe that racism definitely is a real thing. And I think it's a real thing in all places in the world. And it looks very different in different places, right? But as I start to learn what Christ is really saying, and I start to really look at scripture for what it was really saying, right? I realized that we don't have a race problem, we actually have a sin problem. And the thing is, racism will not go away as long as human beings are on the earth. Now we can in place laws, because laws are good, enforce laws that can, you know, protect people, but ultimately racism will not go away.
A little bit Muslim. You went a little bit transcendental. I don't know, Scientology.
Yeah.
I don't know where you going.
Not Scientology.
Christianity. Why Christianity helps the answers that you were seeking?
It's the only religion in the world that actually solves the problem that we actually have.
Which is, and what's the solution?
Okay, so when you look at religion as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Basically, religion's always saying, hey, do a bunch of things, and if you do these things, God may or may not be happy with you or bless you, right? Or reach the highest peak and you might be rewarded, right?
Yeah.
Well, Christianity is basically saying that one person, one man, one God man has already done all things, and all you need to do is put your faith in him.
And the solution.
The problem is the sin problem. The problem is that, okay, let me just ask you guys, do you guys think that you're good people?
Yeah.
Based on what? Just based on what?
Based on my value system.
Okay.
What's your value system?
A North American one.
Okay.
Which is true. Which is definitely true.
So you think you're a good person? You never done it? You never thought a bad thought? You never done a bad deed? You never done something that you weren't supposed to do?
Oh, I did plenty.
Oh, well, there you go.
But I don't think that makes me a bad person.
But does it make you a good person?
It could make me a good person still.
How so?
Because everybody does bad. We all sinners.
I agree
This
with you.
is
That's what I'm saying. That's the
interview.
problem.
Well,
this is the problem.
the interview
But you-
went south.
No. No.
Nice.
But that's the thing. You just asked me what the problem was, and you just said it. We all do bad things. We all do it. Every single one of us.
Okay.
But that doesn't make us bad. That's what I
It
think.
doesn't make us good.
Well, you're right. At the same time, listen.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Mm.
And and we're putting you on that spot.
Interesting.
So you have to go into jail
Mm.
for some reason.
I have to go to jail.
Yeah,
Or
you do.
Okay.
If you start snitching
Mhm.
on me, instead of doing 20 years, you only do 4 years or 5 years.
Right.
Would you snitch? Would you Takashi 69, man?
That's a
For
fu-
15 years.
that's a funny question because really and truly,
He's like, I don't know you like that.
no, well, I think it starts at the beginning. If I knew all these things were happening, then I just probably
Would never.
wouldn't put myself in that position.
But let's say you didn't know.
Okay.
You didn't know, and then it just fall into you, and then you have to do that decision, make a choice.
Well, I can't snitch about something I don't know.
So, well.
Really? Are we really going there?
Well, yeah, but then I would have to be honest.
So
You would have to be
snitch.
honest.
I would snitch. I wouldn't think it's
You would
snitching.
snitch everything.
You guys forget I'm a Christian man. I
It's
gotta
like,
tell the
and I
truth.
have my whole congregation
That's
watching
it.
me. Yo, no snitching rules in the streets. But I'm from the suburbs. Okay, so
Hey.
let's go with
You're telling me, man. You're telling me.
sections, bro.
You're telling me.
What would you say is or will be your contribution to not only the Christian world but to people
To the
abroad?
world in general, your
Yeah.
contribution as an artist. What will it be?
Honestly,
Oh
What-
man,
what
a
is
lot,
it?
a lot as one.
honestly, my whole contribution, my whole goal when I do music, really and truly, is just to make people find the romance again. That's really it.
Wow.
But did you found it? Is it just it's the
I'm
bass in
gonna
his
follow
voice?
him on Instagram right now.
I just feel like we live so fast. We're usually so stressed out, a lot of anxiety. But romance, where's the romance at?
And would you consider yourself a lover boy?
I think I'm a lover. I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter. You know what
You would, eh? But it's that type of music.
I mean? Yeah.
Inspires you to make those type of music. Was it a bad breakup? Was it the love of your life that just popped up? What?
No, man. I just really love. Honestly, I really love like entertainment from the 40s and 50s.
Alright.
And I just find those stories are just beautiful, very simple a lot of times, and just very like. And then when you have the string arrangements in the back, and it's just everyday common people just falling in love with each other and whatnot, and just sharing moments with each other. So a lot of the times when I do the kind of music I do, I like to do standards. I like to cover standards.
Okay.
So I don't write my own music in that way. I like to cover standards because that's what I love. I love those songs, right? And the reason why I love those songs is because those songs are always capturing a moment, and it's moments that we've all had, and it's moments that we can all relate to.
I love this.
You know what I mean? So that's what I just want to share. I just want to share that love. You know what mean?
I feel Frank Sinatra in his grave just be like mission complete. Empress, man.
Hey.
I want to play some instruments, man. Like this guy just got me going.
Break any law. Which one would it be?
If I can break any law.
If you could break any law.
Oh wow!
My God.
Break any law.
Any law.
No one's ever asked me that question before.
The opportunity is right there. If you could break any law, is it required by law to pay before leaving the store? Is it a law?
I think it is.
If you could break any law,
Honestly, I can't think of anything on top of my head.
are you a fast driver?
No,
He's
I'm a medium driver.
Yeah.
No.
So like the speed limit, break the speed limit, would you?
No, not really.
Not
I
really.
don't really feel I would do that.
Well, you're such a Christian. You.
I will break any law that basically goes against God.
Do you know any of those laws?
Right now, I can't think of anything, but you know, any
Okay.
law that goes against the law of God.
He's
I would-
he's really
such a
thorough.
safe
Yeah.
Answer.
It's like,
Yeah,
which
you-
law would you break?
I think I would steal a baby from somewhere. Like
You
uh,
whoa!
yeah, I would go in another country and
I will edit that part out.
yeah, I think I would instead of adopting
Would-
child,
you
I
would
would
steal.
just
Is
take it for free.
it because you don't want your body change after
It
giving?
has nothing to do with that.
No?
It has nothing
You
to
just
do with
want
that.
someone else's baby.
I just want to help without spending a lot
Ow.
of money before having the opportunity
Oh my
to help.
God.
What is that? Hey.
I guess you're gonna do some editing now.
Where can we find your music? Where do you post your things? Where can we jazz to some mellow?
Check my Reverb Nation, Christopher O'Neill Thomas.
All right, right. Reverb Nation. That's
.com.
that's just
Website.
Reverb Nation.
Nation.
We'll write it
Reverb,
down.
yeah.
Reverb Nation. I
gotta
think I
use-
found a video.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel.
You have a YouTube channel with videos.
Well, with a video.
And hey, we gotta start somewhere.
gotta start somewhere.
Yeah,
And,
definitely. What's the name of the YouTube channel?
Same thing, Christopher O'Neill Thomas.
Christopher O'Neill Thomas
Yep.
on YouTube. So that was about it.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you for
Oh.
coming. That was a pleasure.
So until next time.
Okay.
Praise the Lord. So
Umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of